Welcome back. You're watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Now, Austria seems to have run out of room to take in illegal migrants as the world continues to witness one of the worst cases of illegal migration in years. Austria plans to halt emergency measures that have allowed thousands of refugees stranded in Hungary into Austria and Germany since Saturday and move step by step towards normality. After 71 people suffocated in the back of a truck abandoned on an Austrian highway en route from Hungary, and as thousands headed from Budapest towards Austria on foot, Vienna had agreed with Germany to waive rules requiring refugees to register an asylum claim in the first EU country they reach. Now, when migrants flee from places like the Middle East and also Africa, I should say, where exactly are their targets or their destination countries? Well, here are the top 10 countries which most illegal migrants aim for. The first, without surprise, is the United States of America. There we have about 45.8 million migrants. The next is Russia with about 11 million migrants, then Germany with 9.8 million migrants, and Saudi Arabia with 9.1, the United Arab Emirates with 7.8 million, the United Kingdom has the same number, France is 7.4 million, Canada is 7.3, Australia is 6.5, and Spain is about 6.5 million migrants. Well, we're joined now by the president of the Migration Policy Institute Europe, Dr. Demetrios Papadimitriou. Dr. Demetrios, thank you very much for joining us.
It is my pleasure.
And it's an honor indeed on our part. Now, I'd just like to ask, based on your experience, do you deem the way the migrant crisis is being handled by Europe to be the best?
Well, certainly it is not the best. I don't know if it is the worst, but certainly it is not being done smartly. It seems that the Europeans are constantly unprepared for the evolution of this particular crisis. It is also true that the crisis keeps morphing into something bigger. It keeps changing directions. And what we have now is a veritable tide of humanity moving toward Europe. Under those circumstances, and I want to emphasize that, when you have so many dozens of thousands of people coming into Europe and trying to get to the same 2 or 3 places in Europe every couple of days, because that's what we're talking about, every few days, then no country can really be prepared for that. Now, the fact that Europe was unprepared to see this kind of evolution of the crisis, and therefore it had not made the necessary preparations in terms of infrastructure, in terms of places to hold people, in terms of the basic protection that people need, etc., etc., this is what makes this particularly chaotic and messy.
Now, Dr. Demetrios, you just said that this is not the best or the worst way that the Europe is handling the situation, but what do you think more energy should be channeled towards in order for us to have some significant improvement?
Well, you have to do a lot of things well, and you have to actually integrate your responses. In other words, you have to follow a much more comprehensive approach to the overall issue. So in terms of the people who are already moving, in other words, people who have already made it to the Aegean, and they're going to cross into Greece, and then they're going to try to go to the north, what you need is a reception and processing center, probably in Greece, at a reasonable place, where European adjudicators from all over the EU member states, but also from a particular agency of the European Union called the European Asylum Support Office. The agency is located in Malta. They will have to be there and try to at least do some preliminary processing of people. This way, early on, we can separate out the people whose claim for protection to become refugees is likely to succeed from people who are clearly economic migrants. No. And then those people who are refugees will need to be redistributed according to some formula to the rest of the European Union. When the ministers of the interior meet on the 14th of this month, this is one of the things that they will try to see if they can reach agreement to. And the three places that they are likely to create such reception and processing centers will be Greece, Italy, and possibly even Hungary. But at the same time, it is important for people to do what Germany is doing. Germany has just agreed to a 6 billion euro package to really assist states and cities and smaller communities to really take in these migrants and try to figure out how to protect them, how to clothe them, how to feed them, where to house them, and to begin to process them toward an opportunity for them to become integrated there.
Now, just before I let you go, and on a final note, Dr. Demetrius, I must ask, I'm going to point out two instances right now. We've seen the Pope that has called on every European parish and religious community, to each of them, to take in one refugee family. And in another case, which we saw last week, an Egyptian billionaire offered to buy and develop an island from Greece or Italy in order to house migrants, saying he would grant this purchased island independence and also provide jobs for the migrants, for them to build their own country. Now, based on your experience, these are people trying to tackle the Mediterranean crisis in their own small way. Is this sustainable?
No. With regard to the Pope, it's a remarkable statement. In other words, the idea that parishes will actually begin to offer not just refuge, but also try to bring in and incorporate refugee families is an extraordinary gesture. It tells you a lot about this Pope, and it is likely to empower civil society even further in its demands that governments actually respond the proper way in that regard. As for the idea of an island, etc., this is not serious thinking. You know, people are not going to go to an island. You cannot build a country or a country out of scratch. Opportunities will have to be created, etc., etc. It might be something that make this billionaire, whoever it is, feel good, but these are not realistic solutions to anything that we're talking about in today's world.
Well, Dr. Demetrius, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time and your input. Thank you so much.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much. Dr. Demetrius Papademetriou is the president of the Migration Policy Institute, speaking to us from Europe.